Morning, all.
Hello.
Good morning.
How's it going?
It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. I
Sun's
think
out.
everyone's still waking up. It's 10 a.m., but still getting that coffee, right?
Well, I'm like, is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? The long weekend is throwing my days off this week. It's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. Ah, jeez.
Tough to keep track of.
Soak in all of the sunshine while it's here. I heard it's going to cool off again, so.
Well, I know we got a jam-packed webinar that if you're not awake yet, we're sure to wake you up in no time. So this is going to be a fun one. Yeah, really excited. As you're joining, please feel free to drop where you're from in the chat, or since we're sorry about any background noise there on any restreaming things. Or please feel free to drop, since we're talking creative, brand identity, all that fun stuff, please feel free to drop some brands that you really feel resonate with you and their brand identity really sticks out to you, that they do a good job representing themselves. Everyone ready for this? Bringing those insights, that info, that expertise, that's what I'm talking about.
Hey, we're just, we're going to have a nice chat. We're going to talk about things. We'll see where it goes.
That's what it's all about.
I'm going to try and keep things on point on my side. If I start drifting, just reach through the screen and slap me, and I'll get back in line here.
We don't want spit takes first thing in the morning. Right? We're praying for 2
Like,
minutes.
where's my emojis so I can be like, okay.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Yes, Asa, we are live on YouTube, and it'll be available after the stream. Hey, welcome, Portland, Oregon, and we have Diego joining us from Buenos Aires, and looks like a brand Japanese green tea joining us from Los Angeles. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. Please make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all those things to catch future webinars, catch replays of the webinar, and just follow our channel. We really are excited for this one and should be a fun webinar overall. Thinking 10:05 to get things kicked off, or how are you both feeling? Let a couple more people kind of work their way in and then get
Sure, sounds good.
Awesome. Got any fun plans for the sun, Tricia? Get out, do some gardening?
More gardening.
Yeah. Almost done with your projects?
It's never done. Once you start, it's ongoing.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of like social media.
And
I'm going to have jokes
brand
today.
identity, right?
Yeah.
It's an ever-evolving thing.
It's in motion,
It's
right?
very on brand.
Right. Awesome. Look, we're segueing in right now, Jason. I should just hop on over because that couldn't segue better than that.
I was gonna say, was that zinger intentional?
Speaking of Segway, have you seen their social media? I'm just kidding. It's going to be a long presentation, folks.
Jason made sure to come with the lightheartedness and the jokes today, so that's awesome. Got to bring it. Got to have it. Also, yes, this is the Digital Marketing Quarterly Meetup group. You are in the right place if that's the meetup group that you're talking about. I'm glad you're joining us today. This is we're going to be talking brand identity and a lot more. So really excited for the webinar today. And with that, I think we're probably good. Everybody good to get things going here?
Yep.
Cool. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Cortez. I am the marketing manager and a partner here at Webfor. I'll be your host and moderator for today's webinar, Brand Identity in Motion, Strategy, Creativity, and Online Connection. We're so glad you're here, whether you're tuning in as a brand strategist, social media manager, business owner, or just someone about building online connections. We believe your brand is more than a logo or a tagline. It's a feeling people get when they interact with you. And that's really shaped by every word you write, and really how you show up in all the spaces, every reel you post, every community touch point you have. Today's roundtable is all about helping you clarify your brand voice, create content that resonates, and build real communities online. Really excited for this one. We've brought some of the sharpest minds in Webfor on the team together today to talk through what's evolving, what you can start doing today to make your brand stand out. Let's kick some things off with some quick introductions. Tricia, if you're okay with that, I will let you kick us off.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning or maybe afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. My name's Tricia Davis Payne. I'm Director of Accounts and partner here at Webfor. Been at Webfor a little over 6 years, going on 6 years. Time's elusive with COVID and everything, but I've been in the digital marketing space for over 20 years now, which is crazy to say out loud, but true. So I bring a lot of variety in terms of different areas of digital marketing. So I hope to share some nuggets and some important information that will help with some takeaways that people can use to help them grow their business.
Awesome. Thank you, Tricia. Aubrey, I'll kick it over to you and then Jason right after.
Hi there, everyone. I am Aubrey Winterholler. I am a social media specialist here at Webfor, and I have spent the last 5 years working in social strategy, content creation, and community building. I would say that community building is very near and dear to my heart. It's actually at the foundation of everything that I do. I have specialized in building online communities from the ground up, and my primary focus is creating content that feels real and getting people talking.
All right, that leaves me, I think. My name is Jason Wright. I am President Creative Director of Webfor. I've been in the industry for a long time, something like 17 years or so. I don't know, a long time. I've been with Webfor for more than a decade. Excited to be here today to talk about social media strategy and brand alignment and brand identity.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all for those great introductions. And yeah, I'm ready to dive on into the good stuff. So if everybody's ready, let's hop on in. So Tricia, I'm gonna start with you here, if you're okay with that. Always putting you on the spot here.
Okay.
From a strategy standpoint, how do you help clients stand out in competitive industries or competitive niches?
Well, I mean, everybody has competition. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how big or small, B2B, B2C, D2C, doesn't matter. Everybody has competition. So if you want to stand out, there's some key elements that you need to do. I think one of the problems that a lot of businesses get into is investing time and money all over the place. Like there's so many channels that you can invest energy, time, and money into. Resources, people, all that stuff, right? You can get all over the place. SEO, paid ads, social media, content production, website, print, OTT, radio, doesn't matter, right? I think people try to like spread themselves too thin in those spaces, and they really don't hone in on the laser focused areas that can help them grow quickly and be really impactful in that growth. So investing in a return on growth is what we're talking about when it comes to strategy, right? So be that money or time, it delivers every single time. And the formula is pretty straightforward. So I've done webinars on strategy, so I won't go too deep into this question that you just asked, Michael, but I think it's important to mention something that I don't talk about very often when it comes to building your strategy. So, obviously you got to know your goals. Strategy is looking forward. Tactics are right now that are aligned with that strategy. Kind of feel like a broken record when I say that, but what we often don't talk about is how data informs that stuff, how important data is to that equation. So, you got to know your KPIs. You got to know your goals. That helps you start to develop a strategy. But if you want to get methodical and really laser focused about it, here's a couple things you should be doing to capture data specifically to inform that. So how do customers search for solutions? to the problems that they have that you might be able to answer. Knowing how they search is part of identifying their journey. And then the next pieces of data that I would capture, and here's another mistake folks make often in business, no matter how large or small, is they start looking at their indirect and direct competitors in those spaces. And they're like, oh my God, they have a beautiful website. We need a more beautiful website. Oh my gosh, they have, XYZ. We need to be better at that. Actually, that's a big mistake. What you should be looking at is what they're not doing well. How are they missing the mark? Do they not have good reviews, or do they have great reviews? Like unpacking what they're not doing well. Because if you know what you're doing as a business, then you know how people are looking for you pretty much on the basic side of things. And you can see all the people that are answering those questions currently. What are they not doing well? That's something I would spend a fair amount of time on from a strategic standpoint in your competition side of your industry. And then in that same vein of not spreading yourself too thin, like you could have 10 goals. Focus on one, maybe two, before you start moving into the third, fourth, fifth one, right? Laser focus on a couple channels, not all of them. Really get good at what you do so you can hone on that, capitalize on it, and then move into the other spaces. But gathering that data is critical, I think, to building a strategic space against your competition.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there in what you said, Tricia, but kind of narrowing down your focus a little bit and identifying some gaps in the competition. And that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your insights there. Aubrey, I'm gonna throw the next one your way. So what's in your mind, what is the first step or one of the first steps in helping a client or business define their brand identity or tone online?
I would say you start with clarity. So what is it that you believe in? How do you want people to feel after they interact with you? Once you kind of pinpoint down what your tone is, it's the reflection of the why, not just the what. Why, because one of the first things that I would talk a client through or walk through myself is defining their core values. So what are their core values? What are their voice traits? Are you bold? Is this somewhere where you go for support? Are you a more playful brand? Or, so that's where I would say is clarifying how they want to feel. I would actually like to do a little quote that I like. It's, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I just think that is absolutely true. That why is so important. Your tone needs to then, once you have clarified what it is, it needs to be consistent. So consistent from your captions all the way down to the way that you interact in comments. Just that consistency is so important for people feeling safe. And actually 86% of consumers say that authenticity influences their brand support. So that feeling authentic is just so important to go in there and be like, this is a real person with these, I relate to it, whatever it is. So when I say a person, like if your brand was a person, how would they talk? Like, what would they sound like? What would you say about that person? And once you've kind of nailed that down, everything else will then start to flow from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it was Simon Sinek who had that quote, and I just love his start with why principle, because it really is, like you're saying, it's so critical for brands. And yeah, I think a real good brand, it's exemplified this, and I think Simon's used as example in the past is Apple. People, yes, they build great products and stuff like that, but people buy Apple because of the why behind their brand, not because of what they're doing here. And that's really their whole marketing strategy, is that why. So that's great. Jason, if you're ready for me.
Yes, Michael. I am always ready.
Stay
I
ready.
was born ready.
Born ready. That's what I'm talking
Don't
about.
make me bring out the voices. I will get out of hand here.
All right. So what types of creative content are performing best right now? What are you seeing?
You're going to give me the hardest question, huh?
You know, I gotta
Okay.
I gotta put some pressure on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, what have you seen from, you know, a visibility standpoint, from kind of a trend standpoint of where we're heading into the future, of like what type of content's performing best, and you know, why do you feel that, you know, that's really the case right now?
Well, I will try and keep this succinct, which is an inside joke for us because I will talk for 75 years about this if I don't stop myself. Because I'm really excited about social media. I love using the platforms. I love posting content. I am notoriously inconsistent at actually posting content, and I go in waves of getting things out the door. What I really enjoy about social is understanding what's working and how people are engaging, what people are liking, resharing, that sort of stuff. And here's the deal. There's a lot of things that work. There's some things that don't. There's a lot of talk about organic social posting being dead. There's talks about reels not performing as well as they used to. Look, everything works. It's how you approach that situation and what you're leveraging those various places for is what matters. I am going to take a slightly different turn. I think research is important. I think outlining tone, your why, all of those things are important. I don't want to discredit that. With social, it's so challenging because it's so fast. So you got to get in there and start posting. So you can pontificate and create documents of strategies of things that you could do, but you got to post and you got to see what works and you got to post a variety of things. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on reels since that's top of mind, of course, for a lot of people. We spend a lot of time in that space as humans. Reels are played over 140 billion times daily. The average person spends about 33 minutes on reels a day. That's a lot of time, people. You got to get out of that bathroom. There's a lot of reels that people are watching, and there's all kinds of stuff that can be effective. And look, something I always say, we're gonna do the quote thing, aren't we? But people never forget how you made them feel. And so if you are making content where you're just talking at people, that's not going to be nearly as memorable as something that contains something unexpected or a shock or humor or those sorts of aspects. I'm sure some of you have seen the guy on social, I forget his handle, but he says, go to the gym, and he's always spitting out his water. He's like, go to the gym, go to the effing gym. And it's hilarious because it's a whole sort of culture thing now where people take that and they slice it up, they put their reactions, and they're spitting out water, and he's spitting out water, and they're spitting out water, and they're promoting brands inside of this. So there's ways to leverage your own content and other people's content to make things interesting. There's ways of playing into current popular memes or reels and styles, like men playing their wives and wives playing their men, and you can integrate an app into the reel and like show one person using an app and show the perspective of someone else using an app. There's a lot of funny things out there. I can share some handles afterwards, but there's ways of pulling in these sort of like funny moments and these things that we all face daily into branding and that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, you could post stuff that says, we're the best shoemaker in the world. We make great shoes. Buy our shoes. That's not a story. You're not really getting anything meaningful from that. So consider sharing stories and creating raving fans through the impacts that you're creating, whether it's having them feel a certain way, being excited about your brand or the story or how they would feel with that product, that sort of thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it all has to connect to your overall story. One thing you could do is search hashtags for brands on Instagram, look at their reels and see what they're doing, and look at their view counts if it's visible, look at their like counts if it's visible, and just do some comparison. like we're herd animals, so we're going to be attracted to similar things as people. If something has no likes versus something that has a lot of likes, you're probably not going to want to do a thing that has very few likes. And it's really challenging because video is hard to produce, takes time, but something that you should consider in generating content is it doesn't have to be overproduced. Just simplify it. Simple stuff. And I'll share more later. I have some other examples that we could talk about. But at the end of the day, like, and I'll come back to this later, you have to test. Like, you got to post stuff and test. You got to do weird stuff. You got to do edgy stuff. You got to do funny things. You got to do serious things. You got to see what works and then adjust from there. But keep going. I just want to add this little nugget that posting one time a week is not enough. That's going to take you several years of figuring out what works. And then by that time, what you're working on or the platforms are changing and everything's changing. So you gotta move. You gotta move quickly.
And don't have feelings about it. Like, how many people can say they spent 2 hours producing this totally cool video that they're so excited about, and they post it and it gets 2 likes, and then you publish something silly that you filmed on your camera in a spontaneous moment and it gets like 500 likes, and you're like, don't get emotional about it. Just figure out what's working and go with that flow, and as consistently as you can, really. I mean, it's easy, Jason, to say, you got to be doing it all the time. But Aubrey can probably attest to this, managing social media. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. Not as easy as it sounds or seems.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, there was a lot of great points there, but talking about story, I think we actually had a question, and we'll talk about this a little more at the end at the Q&A section, but we actually already had a question come up from Asa about how do they spread that message to their target audience and formulate that message. I think what you're talking about there, Jason, is that critical component is like, especially nowadays, people don't want to be sold to. They want, to build connections and build that trust, and then referrals can lead to conversions and things like that, but people don't want to be sold to anymore. It's that authenticity. It's telling that story and that rawness.
Yeah, it's a blend, right? It's you need to give value. So whether that's making someone feel, I mean, at the end of the day, it's making someone feel a certain way. They're feeling good about what they're getting. They're feeling good about the interaction. But to answer that question that was posted in chat real briefly.
I'll pop it up real quick so you can see the full question. Yeah.
We can come back to it more later as well, but I'll just say, organic social posting with a very, very small paid budget works wonders. So if you're in the Vancouver, Portland Metro, or you're in a local metro, spend $20 a week boosting an ad to Washougal or a certain county or a certain city in your state and target a specific demographic, because your overall goal is to build awareness and visibility and saturation. And that's how I think about things.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So this next one, Tricia, I have a question for you, and I'll probably kick it to Aubrey after for some follow-up, if that's okay. So how do you ensure content actually connects with your audience and not just reaches them?
Right. So this might actually touch on a little bit more information from the question we just got from the audience. So, I mean, you mentioned it, Michael. You said clarity, Aubrey, connection. I heard from Jason, authenticity. So authenticity is key. It cannot be understated. It is your origin story, right? So yes, how do you get it out there and spread that content is part of that equation, but you really have to be deeply connected and tied to your origin story in how you communicate about yourself over time and across channels. And one thing that I think AI is really powerful at these days is taking a piece of content you've written, an evergreen piece, or maybe it's a video like this webinar. We can take this webinar when we're done, and it's all our content. It's not going to change what we're saying, but it's going to break it up into video snippets and blog post for that matter, and it can take chunks and statements from each of us and create individual social posts and give us ideas about what would be good imagery to connect with these words that we're saying. So it's not, the authenticity is there of what we're producing right now, but then you take it to the next step and you push it out, you repurpose it, you recycle it, you chop it up, we might even take this and make it into a longer written piece. Like, there's so many ways to look at this. And I think that's an important part that we sometimes overcomplicate, right? We're like, oh, we got to write 5 blogs and we got to produce 7 videos and we got to do this and we got to do that. And there's so much production and planning and organizing, but you could take one piece and turn it into 75 things. So be mindful of keeping your origin story, your why, attached to that messaging. That's critical, right? So that's always, we're always going to say that. You probably heard it time and time again. Tell your story. What people don't talk about often enough is understanding your customer's story. It's not just your story, it's their story too. And you connect with them by finding that space in the middle where you're being authentic, they're being authentic, and you're providing a product or service, but you're making a connection. Kind of what you were talking about, Michael. You're making that connection. So they're going to talk about you. They're going to come back to you. They're going to tell friends and family about you, or their business cohorts in their networking spaces. You grow through those connections more deeply than almost anything else you can do. Word of mouth is the most powerful marketing tool you have in your toolbox, right? So this is where the connections are made. This is the secret sauce, or I guess what would Jason call it? Awesome sauce. This is the awesome sauce, right? So I refer back to what I've said before, be authentic, and pay attention to feedback. I think this is something that we don't talk about enough either, like reviews, under comments in social media, direct messages. You have to be mindful and on top of those things and as equally authentic in those spaces, because they might tell you things you don't want to hear, by the way. They might have had a poor experience. They had something happened with an employee of yours, or a product they bought showed up damaged, or whatever. It's easy to get tied up in the emotional aspect of that, just like it is to get disappointed by your 1 like from that 2-hour video you produced versus the 30-second spot you did on the sidewalk, right? Take the emotion out of it. People are giving you valuable information to improve your experience with your customers the next time you have one, and the next time you have one, and the next time you have one. So people read that stuff. So making sure that your content is everywhere, it's tied to your origin story, it's connecting with your ideal audience, meeting them in the spaces where they journey and find solutions to problems, or get that feedback of things they want versus things they need. Both things are happening there. You know, I might not need that $300 pair of shoes at the mall. I might need them for an event, but I might not need them. I might just want them. So you have to just do that dance and understand that space, and always be authentic to your tone, your voice, your story, and connecting with their story. I would say that is a huge part of how you make those things more deeply connect with people and work more powerfully for you with less effort on your part.
Awesome. Aubrey.
Yeah, totally. Tricia had just many points that I also want to touch on about connection. So to me, connection starts with empathy, right? So it is that meet in the middle moment where it is, you're not just about posting. It's that listening. It's how to answer those questions that they're already asking. And doing that would be more than just looking at what is getting the likes, what is getting the highest reach. It's what are they Googling in the middle of the night? What made them stop and go, wow, what's this about? Like, what is it that is actually getting them to engage? And then you look beyond the analytics and you dig into, like you were saying, comments, reviews, Reddit threads, community groups. These are all places where you can really understand what it is that they're looking for, because user generated content is like 2.5 times more trusted than brand created content. So finding those great, golden eggs and taking that and saying, this person had this experience and how can we expand that and create that experience again for others. So yes, consistency is important, but it's not just about like broadcasting. It's this feeling of starting conversation and meeting real needs with a real value.
Yeah. I think, I know both of you shared so much insight there on, creating content that actually connects with your audience, but, really talking about those pain points, like what questions are your customers asking your sales team or asking you frequently, right? Or, threads or communities, right? These are all spaces where, like you're saying, these are excellent spaces to garner insights to understand what your audience is actually looking for and where those pain points exist, and better understand how to connect with them. So thank you both for sharing your thoughts there. That's amazing. Aubrey, I'm gonna just kick it back to you, put you in the hot seat again. So you talked about online community building earlier, and you've talked about it a couple times throughout. So I want to kind of expand on that. What are some of the most effective ways that you've seen to build and nurture online communities?
So I would say starting with a purpose. So what is the gap that you're filling? What do people need that they aren't already getting? Creating a community is about belonging. Finding this sense of belonging is so important. So creating a space where people are feeling seen, they feel heard, they feel valued is so important. So it's not just talking to your community. It's not just this talking at you thing. It's talking with them. It's making people feel heard, making them feel a part of what is. And that's how you're going to get loyalty, because if you show up with consistency and you respond to them with care, it's going to show. And I would say that the best content is going to come from within your community. So just listening to what they're sharing. What are they celebrating? What are they struggling with? These are the things that communities can help create, is this, they're part of the story. So once you have that loyalty, that emotional connection, it's hard to put a price on that. So for ads, this is great for pushing things. But once you have this loyalty, it's in a sense more valuable than any ad, because they are loyal to you. And so community shouldn't be just a tactic. It should be more of this responsibility that you approach it with focus on connection. And then once you've created that connection, the loyalty follows, and, so on and so forth.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. Do you have any examples you could share, or like recommendations for maybe finding communities or creating communities, if you're another business out there just kind of looking for those opportunities?
Yeah, so I kind of had mentioned filling the gap. So if you don't already see that space, being the trailblazer to say, hey, I'll be the person to unite us, and these are my beliefs, and then if one other person says, I'm looking for that too, then the two of you can kind of get that. That's how it spirals. That's how this beautiful spiral effect of, you were talking about, recommendations are so valuable. So it's like when one person's in, then they're going to say, hey, this place makes me feel this certain way, or whatever. Have you seen them? Have you checked them out? You got to see this. So I guess to answer it in short is, if the space doesn't already exist, don't be scared to be a trailblazer. Create those spaces and see what can follow.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you for kind of expanding on that there. Jason. So I was curious about, how you approach experimentation around messaging or trying new formats of messaging, and really for businesses who do want to experiment, how they don't lose that brand consistency or that brand identity that they've kind of formulated over all these years and worked really hard on building.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in the context of social media, consistency is tricky word, because social media is there for you to post and share content, and a variety of content that connects with the audience in some form. So consistency is going to vary by brand. As far as visual appearance, like visual identity, that's one thing. Like style choices is one thing, but the types of formats of content you're generating is going to vary pretty dramatically over a period of time. If you go and look at some of the more effective social media profiles out there, you'll see that it's a lot of times a mix of different forms of content, slightly different styles. And then the flip is true when you're dealing with a photographer or an artist or something of that nature, where like every picture they take is mint green with super saturate, like every photo is like that. And so people like that profile because of that specific style and that specific approach. So the situation is going to differ between lots of different brands and personal brands and companies and that sort of thing. I think, to circle back to something Tricia touched on, I mean, on the outset, you got to detach yourself from the emotional weight of generating a single perfect post. There is no perfect post. And perfection is just a form of aggressive procrastination. I mean, if you are generating ideas without action, you're just daydreaming. Like you have to act. Ideating and strategy and whatnot's important, but you've got to act. So the first thing in my mind is, get out of your own head and start creating things. And it just varies so much in terms of like the formats or messaging, because, for example, I think Tricia or someone mentioned this earlier. I had this like really beautiful piece of art. It took me like, I don't know, it was the longest illustration up to this point because I'm learning illustration. Like, this is amazing. I did this like reel and I posted. I'm like, this is going to blow up because it's so good. And it got one view. One. Now, timing, when it was released, the music that was used, like all of that factors. I put up a really terrible piece of art years ago as a reel, and it got 3 views. It got more views than the good piece. But it's, timing and all that stuff matters. I've got reels up there that is some character design with some music that goes with that character, and it got thousands of views. But now, because you're, tapping into pop culture, you're pulling in popular music. I've produced react videos, and those get hundreds of views. And that's really interesting. And that was on the mental health side of things. So there's like a lot of different ways, but I'm testing. And that's what I'm sharing, is that you have to test. I have a couple with Legos. There's this like popular audio on Instagram of like, I'm just going to get one. Well, I can't just get one. It's got to have a friend. And you've probably heard that one. And those videos have hundreds or thousands of views because it's tapping into an audience. Now, here's the thing that doesn't work for me. So keep this in mind. I do too much stuff. I do too many different things. So the one challenge there is, if you've got mental health stuff, you've got react videos, you've got hobby videos, you've got art, you've got this, and you're trying to post all of it at the same time, that's going to create some challenges. So honing in a little bit and paring down a little bit and just focusing in a particular space. So if you're a shoe brand, maybe you're doing some promotional material, pushing a contest, having people snap a photo of their shoes in the wild, or having some kind of like photography prompt, like, hey, photograph your shoe on grass, or photograph your shoe on this, in a bag, in this. There are different ways to engage with an audience to build activity, but I would still tie organic posting with some boosting. And I would be playing with that because that's going to help get reach. And if you're like some of the people in the chat might be marketing managers or social media managers, sending stuff to Instagram organic is like building your own rocket ship and hoping it gets to the moon. Like you can hope, but you gotta there's things that you need to do that are extra to help get the rocket there. And doing a slight or small paid campaign will help make that happen. I just want to check my notes real quick. This is the kind of last-ish thing here. And I think we've all been saying this, but you need to provide value. It's got to be valuable. And over time, you'll build raving fans, one fan at a time. And that comes with having some consistency in sharing certain types of content, whether it's tapping into meme culture or it's tapping into that mint green, highly saturated photography style. That's going to get shares. That's going to get activity over time. And something else to consider is that there are, on Instagram specifically, 3 spaces that I see. There's the organic posting, so posting to your feed. There's reels and stories. So for me, I think about organic as like the deep work posts, like the high quality, portfolio driven or before and after driven, fashion driven, like the highly detailed, high quality photography. Reels I see as the raw, low production value, tapping into culture, popular music, popular sounds, popular visuals, and playing in that space. And in stories, I look at that as behind the scenes in the moment. So maybe you're an artist, maybe you're a flower shop and you're putting a bouquet together. Take a picture, post the stories, take a picture, post the stories, take a picture, post the stories. And that gives all of these different unique perspectives. So if you can treat your social media profile like its own television station and have all of these different outlets, you get the movie set stills, and the behind the scenes photos all in one place.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Jason. I love that strategy, kind of those tactics, and really how you're framing the different platforms and utilizing that for not only professionally but personally. So a lot of great insight, and awesome to hear some of those examples of how your different artworks performed on the channels. So thank you for giving a lot of specifics there. We are coming up at time pretty close here. We have maybe 1 or 2 more questions. We'll see. But for anybody that has any additional questions we didn't get to, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We will be doing some Q&A at the end. Looks like we've got a couple questions, and I may have a couple extras to throw in there, but we'll see. All time dependent here. So let's get to the next question. I kind of want to open this up for everyone here. So if a brand could really, looking at 2025, which is crazy to say, we're like halfway through, almost. I mean, June is right around the corner. If a brand could only make like one shift in 2025 to improve awareness, engagement, what would you recommend that they do? I'll start with Aubrey, and then Tricia and Jason, I'll let you fight it out if that's okay.
So I would say prioritization of clarity and consistency. Be crystal clear about who you are. What do you stand for? Then align your tone, your content, and your purpose, because that's going to make engagement feel more natural. Also, don't try to be everywhere. You don't need to be everywhere. Show up intentionally where it counts. Where are your people? So finding those people and showing up there, and building off of that. So I would say my final thought would be, make people feel something and make it matter.
Yeah, we talk about making people feel good all the time, because that's really what it kind of boils down to, is like people just want to feel good, right? And that's when they come to community, the space for community, or when they're looking for a business to solve a pain point, right? They're just looking to feel good, and so stay consistent with that, like you're saying. That's really, really awesome. 1 second, I know I said I was gonna not jump in the middle here, but I do want to name drop one tool if you're interested in finding like what platforms your audience is actually on. I'm going to name drop Rand Fishkin, previous SEO. He's not an SEO anymore, even if he claims to be. He doesn't. But his new tool, Spark Toro, it's a great tool for finding your communities, what hashtags they're using, what platforms they're using, what audiences are engaging with your competitors. So if anybody hasn't checked that out, just one little tidbit there, one recommendation on checking out that tool. Tricia, if you're cool, I'll kick it to you next. Look, I'm not going to make you and Jason battle it out. So
we've been doing it for 20 years. I think we're at it. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts, and you said one thing. So data, Michael just touched on it. Like, getting data is so valuable. Sometimes you don't even don't forget to capture the data. When Jason talked about boosting posts, that you'll get more data from that. You might get a customer, you might get a couple new followers. Yeah, but you're going to get so much data too that you would take so much longer to grab onto organically. So data is really important. I would say don't be afraid to make mistakes. I am a personality type that likes to be a perfectionist. Even though that's not realistic, that's kind of the way I operate in the world. And we were playing around with an AI tool to break up video content and test it out across multiple video channels. And I was like, no, there's a spelling error. You can't put that. And Jason was like, yeah, no, we're putting it on. We're just testing. We're just playing around. Social media is this big, fast river that's moving past you quickly. So you can make mistakes and you'll recover from them. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I want to say lastly, oh gosh, what was the other thing that was on my mind is just, I think it was the mistake side of things. Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Oh, I know what it was. Okay. Everybody's telling you how to use AI. Flip the switch a little bit. Think about it a little bit differently. Here's how I use AI, and I'm giving away some of my own secrets here. A lot of people will use AI to generate content, and then they'll come in with people and massage it and authenticate it and move it around and make it unique, which is fine. That's like how people do things. But I actually write everything from my own perspective, my own thoughts. And then I use AI to polish it and give it different tones for different spaces I might be publishing it in. Because that is still my voice. It's not me asking AI to create something for me. It's me creating the thing and then using AI to help me polish it, shorten it, lengthen it, repurpose it, all kinds of ideas about what to do with it. And so you can kind of to touch back on that content piece. Like, one of my things that I do for clients when I'm onboarding them is I ask them their origin story. Like, tell me why did you start this business? Why were you passionate about this space? Why did you get into it? And they'll just start talking and telling their story. And it could be one person, it could be multiple people. And they'll interrupt each other. Oh, remember that thing? That's why we did that. Oh, yeah. And then I throw that into AI and I say, write their story, make it public facing. So pull away the parts that you might not necessarily put an about us page together with. And it's authentic, it's their story, and you can start to repurpose it very quickly across multiple spaces. So that was like 3 things. Sorry.
Okay. Now it's my turn.
Okay.
And I'm gonna flip the table.
Okay.
And flip the script. I'm gonna flip flop. I don't know. I'm out of things, but I am an advocate of trying stuff, and so I think if you're a brand that doesn't know where your audience is, post everywhere as often as you can. because that analytics that we're speaking to will help inform where to spend most of your energy. However, many platforms can work for you. It's about what you're doing on those platforms, how you're using them, how you're engaging with folks, and that sort of thing. In terms of addressing the question, like how can you improve awareness, build engagement, and whatnot, you got to post to social media. People are social proofing consistently. People using TikTok as a search platform for businesses is on the rise, as well as Instagram. But there's going to be other social media platforms in the future. You got to start posting on social, even if you can only manage 1 to 2 posts per week. You got to start. You got to start getting content out there. You got to start posting more frequently, and not get too married to the ideas you have, and be willing to test and fail. And one other component to this, I'll just add as a funny side thing. I spent in a past life, I was a producer and director of independent things, funny short films, that sort of stuff. I spent 3 years producing an independent film, spent a year in pre-production, a year writing, a year filming. The average watch time for the full film was 45 seconds on YouTube. So we haven't even gotten into the analytical side, but as you're producing content, especially video, there's a lot of stuff that you can look at on YouTube Shorts and in other places, how much watch time you're getting, where people are dropping off. Maybe you stuttered in your video in the last 3 videos, and that's where people leave. Those are insights for you to carry to your next piece, and then you'll get more insights, and then you keep iterate until you're in this really consistent flow of content production.
Awesome. Yeah, those are some amazing insights. And I appreciate each of you for sharing your top tips for what businesses or professionals could be doing to help build better engagement and awareness for their brand. So very cool. We are at time for some quick Q&A. It looks like time check, we have 7 or 8 minutes left, give or take. We did get one more question from Asa here. I'm going to pop it up. If you 2 or if you 3 are okay with me taking kind of initial stab at it and then kick it to whoever wants to talk more about it, kind of unpack that more. I'd love to kind of chat about this one a little bit.
Do it, Michael. It's all you. You've got this.
Thank you, JW. Thank you. So Asa asks, what are some go-to strategies? She corrected it down below for inbound marketing. Is it possible to grow a brand without social media? Where does YouTube sit within this convo? So I'm going to kind of take a stab at the first 2, I guess, questions. I'll leave the YouTube part open and, the rest of it open for the rest of you to expand on it. So in the context of inbound marketing, I'm going to focus mostly on the website and kind of your organic visibility, although I could talk some email. But really, we believe in an omni-channel strategy at Webfor. So all platforms or all channels help lift each other up, Asa. So your social is supporting your organic brand efforts, and your organic brand efforts are supporting your email. And then when you really have those working together, that's when you're building something special. So really the best strategy for your brand is using omni-channel marketing. So that's number 1. As far as some go-to strategies for inbound marketing, it's getting more complex. I mean, I'm not sure what space you're in, Asa, but with zero-click search, right? The huge growth of zero-click search, AI mode, AI overviews, this industry is experiencing a lot of shifting, to, ChatGPT and other language models and AI changing SERP landscapes. But really, it's still critical for you to be building content for your audience, right? That stands out, content with a purpose, right? So for like content that speaks to the questions your audience is answering. So I think Aubrey mentioned that earlier. What questions are your sales teams getting? What questions are you getting constantly? What questions do you hear other people asking out there in communities, in chat and message boards, right? Those are still really critical questions for your brand and for people to connect with your brand. So content marketing is actually absolutely still critical, even in today's AI age, right? There's also, great strategies out there for building things like ebooks, checklists, templates, downloadable templates, right? Offering lead magnets for people. There's a lot you can do also on like the email drip side of things. Setting up some real optimized drip campaigns can be a really winning strategy to get people into your funnel, but then ultimately get them down your funnel to convert. So there's a number of things you can be doing with your brand, and just go-to market strategies or go-to strategies for inbound marketing. But if you want to chat more about that, we'd love to. Feel free to scan the QR code, drop us your info, and we'd love to connect, Asa, and talk a little bit more about some really winning tactics to help accelerate your brand and get it to the next level. And that, just want to kind of add that tidbit, so I open it up to anybody else who has some thoughts they want to share on YouTube or the rest of the questions there.
I think I'll leave YouTube to Jason, because he's he's more articulate about that space and passionate about it than I am. So, however, I do want to talk about some ABCs related to inbound marketing and go-to strategies, because obviously it depends on the size of the business, but this applies to all businesses. You need to dot your I's and cross your T's with all your things. Are your local listings in place for Google? Are all your business tools set up correctly? Do you have Google Analytics installed on your website? Like, just there's some basic like checklist things so that Google understands as a business, as a brand, who you are. And if they don't, fix it. I've worked with global rock bands, brands that don't have this stuff figured out, don't have their company and then their things all dialed in on their Google knowledge base, don't have their local listings correct, have multiple listings with wrong information. Get the basic stuff fixed. That allows Google to understand who you are as a brand and build on that knowledge over time. And the second thing I would say that's a go-to strategy for inbound marketing is you need to be an influencer in your space. You got to be producing information, content, social media, web, all the things. You have to be considered the influencer in your space. And it takes time and energy to do that, and consistency. But that is what Google's looking for. And it's not just looking for you to be like, I have 1,000 pieces of content more than my competitor, so I am an influencer. Actually, it's looking at, do you answer a particular question, and does Google's customer find the answer intriguing and valuable? If the answer is yes, then you will get lifted higher in the visibility space, and that becomes your inbound marketing strategy, if you will. I can't tell you how many times I've asked a question and AI Overviews gives me some like baseline answers, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of why I was looking for something a little more deeper. AI Overviews. And so I scroll down and I click on a link and I go and I'm like, yeah, no. And I click 2 more down because that title actually resonates with what I'm looking for more. And I go there and now I'm reading. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I was looking for. Google sees that behavior and will benefit the company that answered my question, the business or the person, in so many ways it's not even funny. This is a strategy for getting an edge on your competition who's been sitting there at the top of the pile for a long time, and you're just trying to scratch the surface of the top of page 1. Be authentic, answer questions, provide a better user experience no matter what. Google will reward you for that. And then schema markup. That's another check the box ABC. That's how you get into AI Overviews. Okay, I'll let it go from there.
Yeah, we could spend 600 hours talking about this stuff pretty easily because there's so many interconnected pieces. And, there's the Google search side of things, or search platform in general. Google still has 88, 89, 90% of the market share for traditional search platform. It is a monster. And we've got people out here AIing the hell out of everything that they possibly can. And it's going to catch up with them eventually. It's really important to be authentic. And remember, that just because you're trying to monopolize search results, that's just one part of the entire story of a very big, big, complex story. What happens next when they get to your site or get to your platform, that's incredibly critical. How they feel when they arrive is going to dictate what they do next, which is leave, click deeper, scroll, contact, so on and so forth. There was something I was going to add, and I went down a rabbit. Oh, YouTube. So YouTube is often regarded as the second largest search engine in the world because so many people are interacting with that platform daily. So don't overlook the power of YouTube Shorts, YouTube videos in general, and YouTube SEO. So if you are in a fortunate position where you've already been generating a lot of video content, well, then you have a huge opportunity to drive more engagement and visibility through optimizing your YouTube videos on that platform.
I also want to just spit in one more thing on that. So yes, if it was like a 1, 2, 3, it'd be 1, you're attracting. So creating these SEO optimized videos, answering whatever the question is that your audience is looking for. And then another thing I would say is that engagement. So hook them fast, provide that value, and then keeping it clear, keeping it concise if you can, depending on what form you do. And then figure out how you can use your YouTube channel to convert. So using CTAs, the video description, pinned comments, hey, sign up for our email. These are different ways that you can grow without social media. So yeah, SEO ranking, creating that bingeable content, and strong calls to action. And as long as you have that brand trust, that's gonna give you your growth.
Great. Amazing. I think we are at time. We're 1 minute over. I want to thank each of my panelists for joining today. Thank you so much for your insights and all of the information you shared. Thank you to our audience for joining today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. And looking forward to having you join us at our future webinars and digital marketing quarterly events. Have a great day, everyone.